Elites, how you doing? Welcome back. It's time for another iron farm, but this time, this iron farm, it's a whole lot more simple. This is an easy early game Minecraft Java Edition iron farm. That's right, Bedrock Edition gamers, I'm sorry. If this does not work for you, don't build it. Instead of your typical iron farm that's placed 20 or so blocks up in the air, this iron farm is like 5 blocks above the ground. It also requires a whole lot less materials, so this is perfect for early game. The farm, once set up, is still entirely automatic. The farm works off of Iron Golem AI. The villagers will summon in an Iron Golem, the Iron Golem will stand around for a while, eventually notice the zombie, and try and get the zombie. But it can't actually get the zombie. It gets cooked up in the lava, turned into iron, and poppies. Ho ho ho, sweet poppies. We're gonna do a step-by-step tutorial on this design. It is an original design. If you're looking for a better, more efficient farm, check out my other iron farm tutorial. It's on the end card. We'll be going step by step. There'll be timestamps down in the description below. Right above the description, the like button and the subscribe button. If you enjoy this video at any point, or if you're not subscribed, make sure you change that today. Notification bell on. Road to 1000K. Help your boy out. Alright, so let's talk materials. What do you need to build this farm? Well, to build this farm in exact amounts, you will need 3 beds, 3 trapdoors, 9 signs, any type of sign, 10 hoppers. You'll need at least a chest, maybe like a double chest would be a little bit better though, a bucket of lava, a bucket of water. You'll also need 3 villagers, so find a village and plan on taking some villagers from that village or set up a villager breeder. You'll need 2 chains and 1 zombie. Now, in non-exact amounts, you'll need to have building blocks and slabs. You might also want to have an extra trapdoor to help get the zombie into its containing area. Some ladders might be good to reach your item collection area, and then torches to light up space. You will also need a name tag or a zombie that can hold something so it doesn't despawn. Location. The location of this farm is very important. You can set this iron farm up anywhere in your world, but actually, no you can't, kind of. If you have other villages or villagers in your world, maybe like a trading hall or a villager breeder, do not set this iron farm up right next to it. The iron farm should be relatively isolated, so maybe let's say 50 or so blocks away from all other villagers. Other than that though, the location, it's pretty much up to you. Build it up in the air if you wanted to, down on the surface, under the ground even if you wanted to dig out a lot of space, but the surface is probably fine. You are looking for an area that is relatively flat. Something like this plains biome right here will be perfect. You might have to do a little bit of smoothing, but it's pretty good. We'll start this build off with the zombie containment chamber, basically where the zombie is going to live. This spot is going to be roughly center on your farm. So, from the surface, build up 1, 2, 3, and then that 4th block is going to be the floor of this room. Place another temporary block, then grab some slabs. Place the slab coming off of that temporary block in every single direction, just like this right here. Then, you could remove this block if you wanted to. But we're actually going to put it back, put another one there, and then 1 more block up on top of it. We'll jump on top of it. Grab a couple more slabs and do basically the same thing. These slabs should be on the lower half of the block. By placing the slabs on the lower halves of the blocks, we are eliminating all spawning spaces up here. So iron golems shouldn't spawn right on top of this chamber. Now, all we're gonna need is a little bit of water sitting right down there on the floor. This water should be down there even with these slabs, and then this block right here can actually turn into a slab as well. So just like that, right there. This is basically what we're looking at. We'll put a ceiling on it later, but first, we're gonna need to get the zombie inside of this thing. We'll talk about getting the zombie inside of this thing in a second. It's actually really simple. Before we do that though, we'll set up the villager chamber. The villager chamber is going to be located right next to this thing. Pick a side. The side doesn't matter. Place a temporary block right there, and then a permanent block right there. Temporary block right here, then grab some slabs for the floor. After placing 1 slab down there, you can remove this. The floor of this room is going to be 2 blocks wide or 2 blocks deep, then 3 blocks long, so something just like this. On every single spot in the floor in this room, you're going to place a bed. The beds need to, this is very important, the beds need to be facing towards the zombie. So something just like this, that is perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. Next up, another temporary block on top of this, and then a permanent one right there. We'll place a temporary block here, and a temporary block over here. Then we'll place a chain right here, and a chain over here. The chains are actually going to keep the villagers inside of this thing. The chains are a tiny block though, so when the villager lays down on the bed, it'll actually still be able to see the zombie a little bit, which will freak it out, and it'll get right out of the bed. Pretty much same thing goes for the slab. If I were a villager standing right here, I wouldn't be able to see the zombies, so I'd be able to sleep if it were nighttime. Sleeping is one of the main requirements for iron golems to spawn. So right here, this is pretty much it for the front wall. Now the side walls. Temporary block right there, and then slabs going along this side right there. These slabs are on the lower half of a block, as you can see. We're going to do the same exact thing on the back wall, and then the same thing over here too. If you wanted to, you could leave your corners filled in. I think it looks a little bit better opened up like that though. Now it's time for another temporary block and then even more slabs on top of this thing to finish everything off up here. These slabs are again on a lower half of a block. Check that out. Yep, the same reason as with the zombie thing, we're stopping spawns from happening over here. The roof of this thing should go all the way over this whole area right here. Now to help us get our villagers inside of this thing, you might end up coming back in here and removing a couple blocks on the ceiling or on the side of the thing, but this is the chamber. Once we get villagers inside of this chamber and a zombie over here, the villagers will start freaking out and actually be able to summon in an iron golem eventually. Right now though, the iron golem will just wander around on the ground and try and get this zombie. Obviously, it can't though. We need to set up a way to remove the iron golems automatically. So to do that, find the center on the ground right below this thing that you set up before. Putting some blocks back in might help you make sure this thing is perfectly lined up. So here's the center right here. We're going to need to dig out in a 3x3 area 5 blocks down. So the 3x3 area should be centered right down below this thing and then 5 blocks down. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then finally 5 right there. We're going to dig all of this space out. Now, if you wanted to, you could actually come back in here and replace the walls. You can make them look a whole lot better if you wanted to, or you could just leave them alone. So 3x3x5 area, check, we're good. Down inside of this thing, pick a side. Any side is fine, then dig out 1 block, 2 block. At the back, place a chest, then place a hopper going into that chest. Then another hopper going into that hopper, and then all over the rest of the floor in here. We need hoppers everywhere, and these hoppers all need to go into each other. These hoppers are actually going to pick up all of the iron and the poppies from this farm and throw it into that chest, which means on the outside of this farm, you're going to want to open up this chest so you can actually get to it. Maybe ladders in here might be a pretty good idea, and expanding that chest to a double chest might also be a good idea if you're not going to check this thing very often. Back down inside of this hole right here, we have a floor of hoppers. Next up, we skip a block and then floor of signs all the way across this thing. To place the signs on the signs, crouch and place the sign. So here we go, floor of hoppers, then empty space, then floor of signs, and then 2 more empty spaces. Now it's trapdoor time. Grab 3 trapdoors. Any type of trapdoor is fine. Trapdoors actually can't burn up. Place them on 3 sides and then open them up just like that. If you have a 4th one, go ahead and place the 4th one in, but the 4th one isn't technically necessary. These trapdoors are tricking the iron golem into thinking that it can actually move under here to get the zombie that will be in there eventually. Finally, to finish everything off with this farm, basically, we're going to need a lava bucket placed right in the center, dead center, but don't place it quite yet. First, we need to get the zombie in here and the villagers over here. Let's talk about getting the villagers inside of their containment area first. The villagers are probably going to be a little bit trickier than the zombie. So, there are a couple ways to get your villagers inside of their area. Option number 1, a minecart line. This is probably the easiest one. Couple powered rails running right up to this thing. Remove this block right here, we'll put it back after, and then get a villager and put the villager inside of the minecart. Remember that you can actually move villagers with boats. So go to a village, get some villagers inside of boats, maybe move them into the nether over an ocean, something like that, but get them in maybe boats to get them here. Then, after you've pretty much gotten them here, out of the boat and into the minecart. Villagers have a mind of their own though, so you're gonna have to be patient. But even though they do have a mind of their own, they are highly motivated by one thing. That thing, work. Maybe try placing a workstation down next to your minecart to get the villager over closer to it. Then get the villager inside of the minecart and push the minecart up this thing. If you have powered rails, the minecart should fly right up the thing and the villager will land inside of the iron farm. Then you can go up here and carefully remove the villager from the minecart and it should be good. Also, take the job away. You don't want your villagers to have jobs. If you remove the workstation, the villager should go back to being unemployed. That villager is now trapped. We're going to need to do that again 2 more times. If you're not a huge fan of minecarts though, here's another option. Workstation villager. We place the workstation right here and then we hope that this villager realizes the workstation is for that villager. This one requires a whole lot more patience. We're going to basically use this workstation to try and lure the villager up here. So the villager took the job. Now we can take the workstation away, the villager loses his job, and then we can move it up a little higher. Hopefully this villager thinks it can work here. This one might try and take the job though, and if it does, we'll need a second workstation. Hey, buddy, come up here. To get this one done, it might help to make this stairway a little bit thicker. So, there we go. You're all the way up here now. You're doing very, very good. Now, a little bit more. Workstation right there. Come on, buddy. Come on. You can reach it. I promise. Oh, does he see it? Does he see it? He sees it. There we go. The villager has now locked onto the workstation and is moving its way up here. Once it has made its way up here, we're going to quickly remove blocks and try to push the villager inside of the area. We might need to remove this one too. Yeah, this one, it's maybe a little bit trickier, but it can be done. There we go, you're inside of that spot now. This workstation is mine, lose your job. Now, we need one more villager. Boats are a great way to move villagers. It's insanely easy. You could actually use boats to get your villagers inside of this thing, but it might be a little bit more work than the other options. First, you're going to need to set up a bubble column to move your boat all the way up to above the chamber. Then you get in the boat with your villager, row the boat up the bubble column, land over here next to it, row it right on top of this thing, remove some of the ceiling blocks, and then the boat will fall right into the chamber. So here we go. Row you over just a little bit more. You've fallen in, we can get out, then we can knock the villager right out of this boat. Just like that, it falls in, and then we can put these blocks back. There are definitely other options when it comes to getting villagers inside of this thing, but no matter what you do, you need to end up with 3 jobless villagers inside of the villager chamber. So now, it's actually zombie time, but small problem. Zombies are obsessed with villagers, so before we get the zombie, what we're going to want to do is place some temporary blocks around this thing to help cut the villagers off from the zombie. These blocks will definitely come out later, but for now, these are going to help us huge time. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. There we go. And then maybe down here too. So the zombie needs to be inside of this area up there. To get up there, first we're going to set up a staircase that connects that area to the ground. This is the staircase that will move the zombie up. Make sure that you can move up this staircase easily. Then up here, we're going to place a block right there and a block right there. We're going to jump over that gap and place a trapdoor right here, but then open it up. We'll place a block right here, and then when we have the zombie, we're going to run over here, climb up this thing, place a block right here, make sure the trapdoor is open, and wait. One final very important thing to help make your life easier, before we do anything, make sure this trapdoor right here is closed. So it should be right like that, so you can walk right across it. You're probably going to need to do this next step at night. In survival Minecraft, find a zombie. A good way to do this, wait for nighttime, run around near your iron farm. Eventually you'll find one. Try and give that zombie an item. If the zombie picks up the item, then that's it. You actually don't need a name tag. Some zombies can pick up items, not all zombies though. If the zombie successfully picks up the item, then it won't ever despawn. But it doesn't look like this zombie is going to pick up the item, so we're going to need a name tag instead. Not a big deal. Find a zombie, get it to lock onto you. Then you're going to need to move over to this farm. Watch out for other mobs. They are definitely going to be a problem. So, climb up the staircase. The zombie should still be locked onto you. Walk right across this thing, open the trap door, and then jump up and stand right here. Now we wait. We back up crouched all the way away from the zombie, and it's going to walk right into here. It's tricked by the trap door. Now we can actually go ahead and remove this trap door, name tag the zombie, and then put a slab right on top of this zombie. It's good. So here we go, the name tag zombie, the slab right on top of this thing, and then all of these random temporary blocks can actually come out, except for the ones on the front side in between the villager and the zombie. Leave those for just a second. Well, there we go. We already have an iron golem in here. Finally, to finish everything off, if everything is placed down, all you need is a lava bucket right in the center. Place it down, it's going to pour down just like that. Make sure you remove these blocks now, and you are good to go. That is your iron farm. Eventually, the villagers will see the zombie and start freaking out. Once they start freaking out, they can actually summon in an iron golem. This iron golem is going to drop down somewhere on the ground near this farm. The iron golem will wander around for a while and eventually notice the zombie inside of the chamber up top. When the iron golem does notice the zombie, it's going to try and get the zombie. But, trick, the iron golem, it can't actually reach the zombie. It's going to fall right down into the lava and cook up. Just like that, right there. All of the drops will then be put inside of the chest for you to grab later on. So, for an easy iron farm, that's it. That's all you have to do. Now, keep this thing loaded in, and iron golems will continue to spawn on the ground around it. Like I just mentioned, they'll try and get the zombie, fall into the lava and get cooked up, then turned into iron. Now, a couple things to note about this farm. Because we're not really controlling the iron golem's movement, it may idle around for a while. That's why this is more of an early game iron farm. If you have the resources, I highly recommend just setting up an iron farm in the sky. It's actually really simple to do, just requires more blocks and, well, being up in the sky. But if you're earlier on in the world, this iron farm isn't bad. If you're using this design, patience. Patience is key. Eventually, the iron golems will either lock onto the zombie, fall into the lava trap, or wander far enough away for another iron golem to spawn. Another thing to note, game rule do daylight cycle needs to be set to true. If the daylight cycle is not moving, like it's always day or something, villagers will not be able to sleep. For iron golems to spawn in, villagers need to see a zombie and sleep. That's it. And finally, if you missed it somehow, well, I'm sorry, but like I said in the intro, this is for Java Edition only. Bedrock gamers, I'm sorry. Today's not the day for this farm. Don't try and build it. And so, that's actually going to be it for today's easy iron farm tutorial. On the end card, I'll leave my better iron farm. I have a guide episode on it. It's a little bit longer, but it's a really good design. There is a step-by-step tutorial, pretty similar design, but in the tutorial, honestly, I missed a couple things. If you have any questions about this design, throw them down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. I also have a Discord where you can ask questions, and a subreddit, r/waddles. Today, big thank you to my patrons HushSound34 and Glavers. On the end slide is the tutorial playlist. Until next time, stay fresh. It's been me, your boy, Waddles. Goodbye, everyone.